Nearly 50 years ago, two tiny spacecraft left Earth on a mission that was supposed to last only a few years. Instead, they ventured farther than anyone ever imagined, uncovering worlds no human had ever seen, revealing impossible storms, exploding moons, mysterious rings, and frozen oceans hidden beneath layers of ice. Every new image shattered what scientists believed they knew about our solar system. But the most astonishing discovery wasn't on Jupiter, or Saturn, or even Neptune. It was a single photograph that completely changed the way humanity sees itself. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 weren't just spacecraft. They became humanity's eyes in the darkness, traveling billions of miles into the unknown and rewriting the story of our cosmic neighborhood forever. Their discoveries transformed distant dots of light into living worlds filled with violence, beauty, and unimaginable mysteries. And today, both spacecraft continue their lonely journey beyond the edge of the solar system, carrying a message from Earth into the endless depths of interstellar space. How did two machines built in the 1970s survive for decades? What unbelievable discoveries did they make that stunned the scientific world? And why do many scientists believe their greatest legacy has nothing to do with planets at all? Stay with us until the very end, because the final image Voyager captured may be the most powerful photograph in human history. And before we begin, if you love space, astronomy, and the greatest mysteries of our universe, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps us bring you more incredible stories from the cosmos. Now, let's begin the extraordinary journey of Voyager, the mission that changed our view of the universe forever. When Voyager 1 swept past Jupiter in March 1979, with Voyager 2 following only a few months later, humanity's view of the outer solar system changed forever. What had once appeared through telescopes as nothing more than a distant striped sphere suddenly became an immense, living world. Towering clouds, powerful jet streams, massive storms, and endless layers of turbulent atmosphere stretched across the giant planet in breathtaking detail. The legendary Great Red Spot was revealed to be an enormous rotating storm unlike anything on Earth. Yet even that famous feature wasn't the biggest surprise. Everywhere Voyager looked, Jupiter's atmosphere was alive with constant motion, making the planet feel less like a quiet gas giant and more like an enormous engine driven by unstoppable energy. But the most astonishing discovery wasn't Jupiter itself. It was one of its moons. Before the Voyager mission, scientists believed Io would probably resemble Earth's moon, ancient, heavily cratered, and geologically inactive. Instead, they witnessed something no one expected. Massive volcanoes were erupting across its surface, launching enormous plumes hundreds of kilometers above the landscape. Rivers of molten lava and constantly changing terrain revealed a world bursting with geological activity. It marked the first time active volcanoes had ever been observed anywhere beyond Earth, completely transforming scientists' understanding of how moons could evolve. Europa brought another mystery. Beneath its smooth shell of fractured ice lay hints of something extraordinary. Long cracks stretching across its frozen surface suggested that a vast ocean could exist below the ice. In a single planetary system, Voyager uncovered one moon covered in fiery volcanoes and another that hinted at hidden water beneath a frozen crust. From that moment on, the outer solar system no longer seemed cold and lifeless. It became a place filled with possibilities. After Jupiter, the Voyagers continued toward Saturn, where another surprise awaited. For generations, Saturn had been admired as the graceful jewel of the solar system, famous for its beautiful rings. but the close-up images revealed a far more complicated reality. Those rings were not smooth, simple bands. Instead, they were made up of countless delicate ringlets, woven together into an incredibly intricate structure, filled with gaps, twists, waves, and subtle patterns no telescope had ever revealed. The spacecraft also uncovered previously unknown rings, along with tiny shepherd moons, whose gravity helped shape and maintain the narrow ring bands. Even stranger were mysterious spoke-like features stretching across the rings, structures that challenged existing theories and left scientists searching for new explanations. Saturn's iconic rings instantly became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in planetary science. Its moons proved just as remarkable. Titan emerged as an entirely different kind of world, wrapped in a dense atmosphere rich in nitrogen, making it unlike any other moon yet discovered. It immediately became one of the most fascinating destinations in the solar system. Meanwhile, Enceladus showed early hints that something unusual was happening beneath its icy surface. Clues that future missions would later connect to hidden oceans and towering water plumes erupting into space. By this stage, Voyager was doing far more than taking photographs. It was revealing worlds with active weather systems, complex chemistry, underground oceans, and surprisingly dynamic geology. Saturn, once considered the picture of calm perfection, became another reminder that every close encounter made the universe even more mysterious. Following its Saturn flyby, Voyager 1 used the planet's gravity to leave the plane of the solar system, beginning its historic journey toward interstellar space. That left Voyager 2 to continue the mission alone, venturing farther than any spacecraft had ever traveled before. Its next destination was Uranus in 1986, a planet unlike anything scientists had encountered. At first glance, Uranus appeared almost featureless. Compared to Jupiter and Saturn, its pale atmosphere looked calm and nearly empty. Yet hidden beneath that quiet appearance was one of the strangest planets ever discovered. Uranus rotates while lying almost completely on its side, and its magnetic field is dramatically tilted away from its rotational axis. As the planet spins, its magnetosphere behaves in bizarre ways, forcing scientists to rethink long-held ideas about how planetary magnetic fields are formed. Voyager also uncovered new rings, previously unknown moons, and landscapes carved by deep canyons, enormous fractures, and ancient tectonic activity. Among them, Miranda stood out as perhaps the strangest. Its surface looked as though the moon had been shattered into pieces before somehow being stitched back together again, creating one of the most unusual landscapes ever photographed. Then, in 1989, Voyager 2 reached the final stop on its historic expedition, Neptune. Many expected the distant blue planet to be quiet and frozen. Instead, Voyager discovered one of the most violent environments in the solar system. Neptune's atmosphere was filled with incredibly powerful winds, racing at astonishing speeds. Dominating its clouds was the Great Dark Spot, an enormous storm system moving across the planet like a giant shadow. Its faint rings also defied expectations. Rather than forming complete circles, parts of the rings existed as dusty arcs, raising difficult questions about how such fragile structures could remain stable. The surprises continued on Triton, Neptune's largest moon. Instead of being a frozen, inactive world, Triton displayed fractured plains, towering geyser-like eruptions, and unmistakable signs that geological activity was still shaping its icy surface, despite being one of the coldest places ever explored. By the time Voyager 2 completed its flyby of Neptune, the legendary Grand Tour had finally come to an end. Yet the mission had delivered a discovery far greater than anyone anticipated. The outer solar system was not silent. It was not frozen in time. and it was certainly not predictable. Instead, Voyager revealed a vast collection of active, diverse, and constantly changing worlds that challenged nearly every assumption scientists once held. Perhaps its greatest achievement was changing the way humanity viewed moons forever. No longer were they considered lifeless leftovers orbiting distant planets. They had become worlds in their own right, places with volcanoes, oceans, weather, chemistry, and secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Before Voyager began its historic journey, the moons orbiting the giant planets were often viewed as little more than supporting objects, small companions that seemed far less important than the massive worlds they circled. Scientists expected them to be interesting, but few believed they would completely transform our understanding of the solar system. Voyager changed that forever. As the spacecraft explored one moon after another, it revealed places that were astonishingly complex, each with its own geology, chemistry, weather, and ancient history carved into its surface. These were not lifeless rocks drifting through space. They were fully developed worlds with stories of their own, and many of them proved to be even more fascinating than the planets themselves. That discovery completely reshaped humanity's view of space exploration. Io stunned scientists with its enormous volcanic eruptions, while Europa's cracked shell hinted at a hidden ocean beneath layers of frozen ice. Titan disappeared beneath a thick atmosphere that concealed an entirely unknown landscape. Miranda appeared as though it had been torn apart and somehow rebuilt, and Triton surprised everyone by sending dark geyser-like plumes into the sky, despite existing in one of the coldest environments ever explored. With every encounter, Voyager made one thing unmistakably clear. The solar system was not simply a collection of planets surrounded by silent moons. Instead, it was a vast network of interconnected worlds, each carrying mysteries significant enough to deserve missions of their own. After revealing violent storms, active volcanoes, shattered moons, and breathtaking ring systems, Voyager created perhaps the most unforgettable image in the history of space exploration by doing something remarkably simple. It turned around and looked back toward Earth. From billions of kilometers away, our entire planet appeared as nothing more than a tiny point of light suspended within a narrow beam of sunlight, almost disappearing into the endless darkness of space. That photograph would become famous as the pale blue dot, and it transformed the mission in a way no planetary discovery ever could. Suddenly, Voyager was no longer only showing us what existed across the solar system. It was reminding us how incredibly small our own world truly is. Every civilization, every empire, every conflict, every dream, and every human life had unfolded on that tiny speck of light. A world so fragile it could almost vanish from sight. After uncovering storms larger than Earth, active volcanoes on distant moons, delicate rings unlike anything scientists had imagined, and magnetic fields that challenged existing theories, Voyager's quiet glance back at home became one of the most powerful moments in scientific history. It reminded humanity that perhaps the greatest mystery was not hidden among the distant planets, but in realizing how precious and fragile our own home has always been. While most space missions are remembered for the destinations they reached, Voyager became legendary because its journey never truly ended. Once the encounters with the giant planets were complete, both spacecraft continued traveling farther into the unknown, entering a region that no human-made object had ever explored before. The familiar planets slowly disappeared behind them as the influence of the sun gradually weakened. The solar wind became fainter, the surrounding environment grew quieter, and the spacecraft sailed toward an invisible boundary separating our solar system from the vast ocean of interstellar space. Then came the milestone that secured Voyager's place in history. Decades after their launch, these two spacecraft built in the 1970s became the first human-made objects ever to enter interstellar space, continuing to send faint signals across billions of kilometers while traveling through the darkness between the stars. What makes this achievement even more emotional is that Voyager carried far more than scientific instruments. Attached to each spacecraft was a golden record, a message created not for scientists, but for whoever might someday discover it. It contained greetings spoken in dozens of languages, the sounds of nature, human voices, and music from cultures around the world. No one knew whether anyone would ever hear it, yet humanity chose to send it anyway. That simple decision transformed Voyager from a scientific mission into something much greater. It became a time capsule preserving the voice of an entire civilization, carrying a portrait of Earth into the endless darkness beyond the solar system. Even today, long after completing their original mission, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 continue their silent journey beyond the heliosphere, drifting farther into interstellar space, with humanity's message still attached to their sides. Few ideas are as inspiring as knowing that while we discovered just how small our place in the universe truly is, we also chose to leave behind a message that quietly says, "We were here." In the end, Voyager did far more than travel across the solar system. It completely transformed the way we see it. Before these remarkable spacecraft began their journey, the outer planets were little more than distant lights viewed through telescopes, understood mostly through theory and imagination. After Voyager, they became living worlds filled with storms, hidden oceans, active volcanoes, mysterious chemistry, and endless wonders, forever changing humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. After Voyager, those distant planets were no longer just names in astronomy books. They became real, dynamic worlds. Jupiter emerged as a planet of colossal storms, powerful winds, and extraordinary moons alive with volcanic activity. Saturn transformed from a symbol of perfect beauty into a breathtaking maze of delicate rings, hidden structures, and mysteries that scientists are still trying to understand. Uranus revealed itself as one of the strangest planets ever discovered, spinning on its side with an oddly tilted magnetic field, and moons that looked as if they had survived unimaginable catastrophes. Neptune, once thought to be calm and frozen, surprised everyone with its raging winds, enormous storms, and the remarkable moon Triton, a frozen world that refused to remain lifeless. Voyager proved that the vast distances of space had never hidden emptiness. They had hidden astonishing complexity. Yet perhaps the mission's greatest discovery had nothing to do with planets or moons at all. After traveling billions of kilometers and capturing breathtaking images of storms, rings, volcanoes, ice, and endless darkness, one of the spacecraft turned its camera back toward the place where the journey had begun. In that unforgettable photograph, Earth appeared as nothing more than a tiny speck of light floating in the immense blackness of space. At that moment, Voyager became more than a mission of exploration. It became a lesson in perspective. The spacecraft showed us a universe that is unimaginably vast, breathtakingly beautiful, incredibly powerful, and completely indifferent to our existence. At the same time, it reminded us just how precious and fragile our own world truly is. But even that wasn't the end of the story. Long after completing their encounters with the outer planets, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 continued their endless voyage beyond the heliosphere and into interstellar space. They carried with them not only the final whispers of human technology, but also the golden record, a message from Earth, created as a greeting to a universe we have only just begun to understand. Even today, those spacecraft continue drifting through the darkness, silently representing humanity farther from home than anything else we have ever built. That is why Voyager remains one of the greatest achievements in human history. It didn't simply reveal what exists beyond Earth, it demonstrated that a civilization from one small blue planet could create something capable of crossing the vast emptiness between the stars while continuing to tell its story. Perhaps that is Voyager's greatest legacy. It transformed the solar system from a collection of distant objects into a living neighborhood filled with extraordinary worlds, ancient histories, and mysteries that still challenge our imagination. If you enjoyed this journey, let us know your favorite Voyager discovery in the comments below. Was it Jupiter's colossal storms, Saturn's breathtaking rings, the incredible mystery of Triton, or the unforgettable image of the pale blue dot? And don't forget to subscribe, because if the Voyager missions have taught us one lesson above all else, it's that the deeper humanity ventures into the unknown, the more incredible and more mysterious the universe becomes.